justice. And those are the judges that serve the Second Judicial Circuit, which is made up of 6 counties. As a county judge, I would be remiss if I didn't start with the county judges. So, yes. So with that, I want to begin with our administrative county judge who, with Commissioner Proctor and the county commissioners' vote, this courthouse will be named after him in a year. Take, please, special recognition of Augustus Akins. And I wanted to, of course, acknowledge his beautiful wife, LeGrand, who's been the wind beneath his wings. Yes, yes. When I said the wind beneath one's wings, I have to acknowledge the wind beneath my wings. And that's, yes, and that's my husband, your city, hardest working city commissioner, Curtis Richardson. I couldn't help that. I'm sorry. I want to also introduce you to, are there any other county judges that happen to come as the program started? Okay. I'm going to also now, I wanted you to meet your new chief judge of the 6 counties. We just switched to, he got elected with 100% of all judges voting for him. That's a shocker because we don't normally agree on everything. We're too many type A strong-willed people, but I want to acknowledge that he got 100% of the vote. Would you please acknowledge your Chief Judge, Frank Allman? I also wanted you to acknowledge the administrative judge for civil, Judge Angela Dempsey. If you would please stand. And also the Honorable Tiffany Baker Carper, if you would please stand. Were there any other circuit judges that came? Oh, of course, Anthony Miller. Yes, if you'd stand up. We call him the debonair one. So, all right, any other circuit judges that came after we began the program? Okay, I did want to now begin with the city. Our mayor is here, John Daly, if you'd acknowledge him. Right. Our city commissioner, Jack Porter, I see you over there. And of course, I acknowledged Curtis Richardson. I'm going to now begin with the Leon County Commissioners. The amazing chair of the Leon County Commission and her aide who's sitting next to her. Please give a hand to Carolyn Cummings. Also, other commissioners that are present, of course, let's give another round of Bill Proctor. He did help put this on. Commissioner Christian Caban, there he is. Mayor, we have a seat up here for you. Okay. Leon County Commission, Rick Miner. Leon Commissioner David O'Keefe, he's over here. Leon County Commissioner Nick Maddox. Okay, there he is. I'm going to acknowledge one of the two really, really hardworking people. Our state attorney of the Second Judicial Circuit, Jack Campbell. He's over here. And the elected public defender, Jessica Yeary. I don't know where there she is. Our Leon County Sheriff is present. He's sitting over there. Walt McNeil. We have our State Representative Allison Tant. She's over here. Our Leon County School Superintendent, again, I feel like I'm going to preface everything with the hardest working, but I mean, our school superintendent is truly one of our hardest working school superintendents. Rocky Hanna, where are you? There you are. I'm going over to the school board. I want to acknowledge retired school board member Joy Bowen. She's over here. Leon County School Board Roseanne Wood, I see you over here. I'd like to now introduce you to Darryl Jones. Leon County School Board Lori Cox. Now, I want to circle back to our commissioners because we have the beautiful Diane Williams Cox. She just arrived, hugging over there, the mayor. Right. And I call her literally every time I see her, the Honorable Clerk of Court and Comptroller Gwen Marshall. We have with us, we're so honored he's here. What a year. Florida A&M President Larry Robinson. We also have the Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce President Antonio Jefferson. Where are you? I want to acknowledge the amazing Mike Alford and his beautiful wife. If you would both stand, please. We also have Tiffani-Dawn Sykes, Athletic Director at FAMU, present with us this morning. Of course, the MLK Foundation that was founded and is run by Steve Beasley. Let's never tire of giving him a round. I would be remiss if I didn't shout out my amazing pastor, Reverend Julius McAllister. He's over there. Thank you. I want to acknowledge two individuals representing the Tallahassee Chamber and the Capital City Chamber, Sue Dick and Karina Tugger. I see you back there, if you would acknowledge them. Representing the NAACP president is President Attorney Akbar. I believe he's over there. I wanted to also acknowledge our former city manager here in her AKA pink, Anita Favors. This crowd is very well represented by some handsome men wearing coordinated outfits. You know us women love that. Let's acknowledge the members of the 100 Black Men. I see them distinguished right over here. Also want to acknowledge the 220 Club. If you would please stand if you're a member of the 220 Club. I saw many of you here today. Could you stand and be acknowledged? Outstanding, outstanding. I want to also acknowledge retired Leon County School Board member Maggie Butler. Where are you? There you are. I know that session is going on, and we are very honored to have our representative, but are there any other members of the Florida legislature that slipped in when I wasn't looking? Okay. I am so happy to hear that from Gadsden County is Commissioner Neesmith that took time to drive over. Could he be acknowledged, please? Now, we can't honor Reverend Martin Luther King without also acknowledging any men and women of the cloth. Would you stand if you are a man or woman of the cloth? Please stand. Well, I believe that I have recognized our many amazing people, but I want to just say that each of you present is an amazing person. Thank you so much for making Tallahassee the best city to live in. The reason that this is the greatest city in the state of Florida is because of the community, the sense of community that we have. And so thank each of you for taking time to be here. What a wonderful way to start the year to honor a great man. And let us continue to remember his legacy by our actions throughout the year. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give Judge Richardson another hand. This is a hard task. No. The complexity of that is, I think I've heard the word algorithm. I'm not sure what that means. Dante, man, we're going to get you. Just save a little bit. Mr. Beasley started this off faster than it was supposed to. But Mr. Beasley started us off 4 minutes soon, and he wants to take 2 of those minutes back. So hold on, Candace. Steve Beasley, come on
up. First, Mr. Mayor, we have a seat over here for you. Okay. I'm Steve Beasley, president of the MLK Foundation, and I don't supposed to be up here. I'm the person behind the scene. But I would like to say that the foundation was founded some 40 years ago by Dr. Marvin Davies, Reverend Miles, and Governor Bob Graham. And the original name of it was the MLK Holiday Observance. It was founded to work to get um, Monday a holiday. And we can't take the credit for it, but we did our part. Um, Later on, they named the Civil Rights Bill after our founder, the Marvin Davies Jr., Dr. Marvin Davies Jr. Civil Rights Bill. Um, I just wanted to say that for our persons that the real reason that we're here. I would like to say that the MLK Foundation this year dedicated this book to Dr. Nina Richardson. Um, Dr. Richardson, if you haven't seen it, go to mlkfoundation.net. The 100-page book is on our website. Um, Please do that. This year, the book is being dedicated to a County Commissioner, Christian Caban. Is he here? And a real in the trench worker, and Dr. David Bellamy. He couldn't be here today, but thanks for coming. And we have a lunch right after the program. I think it's a carry out too for you people that are. And we do have a holding room down in 1B if you want to go down and listen to the program. It's not on air, but you can listen to it in 1A. And this program, and this is a first, is being televised live on YouTube. I'm supposed to get a hand on that. And it will be televised throughout the year on the Leon County channel. thanks for coming, and we'll see you next year. Oh, the parade is Monday at 12 noon, and you can go to our website and get the complete schedule for next year.
All right, Stephen K. Beasley. Ladies and gentlemen, because I got a good night's rest, I was able to see that far. I stayed at the Holiday Inn last night. And I want to recognize Leon County Judge Monique Richardson. Judge Richardson, would you please stand? I thought I'd plug that for Holiday Inn. You know what I mean? All right. Thank you so very much, Mr. Beasley. You the man. You are the man. Make no mistake about it. Is Carrie Post here? Miss Carrie Post. Is Carrie Post in the house? Carrie, if you would come forward. Our Leon County Tourism Director, Vince Long, opened up and shared a little bit about the grandeur of this year in its entirety. And we've asked if our Leon County Tourism Director, who's been planning so much, following your footsteps, to talk a little bit just about Bicentennial, what makes this a special year. Carrie. Give her a
Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner, and welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. It is indeed a very significant year for Tallahassee and Leon County, as I'm sure many of you, all of you should know. We are celebrating our 200th anniversary of being Florida's capital city and capital county. It's truly, I mean, it's a monumentous occasion. You only turn 200 once, you know, so again, we got big plans here, and as many of you all know, I mean, really, we became the capital when it was territorial Florida, and they sent, by legislative order, a representative from Pensacola and St. Augustine, and basically said, meet in the middle. And here's where they loved it. They wrote about how beautiful it is, and the Cascades is really in Cascades Park is where they landed. So I'm sure many of you all probably knew that, but again, this is the year where we're really going to be recognizing it. We have a Bicentennial Steering Committee that has been hard at work all of 2023. There's 6 task forces. We have year-long activities all year, many organizations that are weaving in bicentennial elements of their existing events, and also many new events. Like a matter of fact, tomorrow, Thursday at the Capitol, it's Tallahassee Leon County Bicentennial Day on the Hill. So we encourage y'all to come out. All of our partners are going to be there. So again, we're just getting started. This again is a very, very important opportunity for our community. The theme is ambitious from the beginning. Because we truly have, that is what truly marks this community. We've been ambitious, you know, to succeed, ambitious to educate, to illuminate, to celebrate, to commemorate, you know, all that. That's really what ties us all together is all of our accomplishments. So again, we're just getting started. We hope y'all can make a trip over to the Capitol. I do tomorrow for the festivities, and I do also recommend check out TallahasseeLeonCounty200.com. So again, thank you all so very much, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you again. I see FSU and FAMU here. Thank you for the tremendous seasons. Truly, thank you. And the economic impact from a tourism perspective, the economic impact your universities and athletic programs bring is tremendous. And you both have been tremendous partners. So I want to say thank you very much. Congratulations on a tremendous year. And thank you so much for the opportunity to say a few words. Thank you.
Carrie Post. At this time, we're going to ask Leon County's Human Resource Director, if she would come, Ms. Candace Wilson, to share and give us our occasion.
Good afternoon. As we say in church, protocol has been established. Protocol has been established, but I certainly am honored today to stand before you and to offer the occasion for today. Ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed guests and cherished members of our community, welcome to this year's Martin Luther King celebration, a momentous occasion where we gather not only to remember the timeless legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, but to also honor our educators who daily go above and beyond to ensure our children receive the best education possible. Today, we stand united to pay homage to those among us who have passionately carried the torch of justice, equality, and progress for our children. In the words of Dr. King, the time is always right to do what's right. Amen. And today we recognize those individuals who have consistently answered that call, dedicating their lives to serving our community selflessly, tirelessly, and with unwavering dedication. Each honoree we celebrate today represents a beacon of hope, compassion, and inspiration to all of us. Their actions ripple through our streets, our schools, our community, our hearts, embodying Dr. King's dream of a world where character triumphs over prejudice and unity prevails over division. Let us use this occasion not just to acknowledge their remarkable achievements, but to also reaffirm our commitment as individuals to the walking path that they have paved in their hard dedication. As we honor these amazing educators today, we must embrace the responsibility to cultivate a community where each person's voice is heard, valued, and respected. So thank you to all the honorees for your profound commitment to this community. Thank you to the MLK Foundation. Thank you, Commissioner Proctor, for always bringing this event to our community. So thanks to everyone.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, uh, 7 commissioners. We're the county commissioners again. Right? County commissioners, wave your hands. Now, this is the lady, because in our respective districts, the one thing that we get asked more than perhaps anything that's similar is would you could you call the HR director to look out for my application? So I like to follow protocol, so I always call the county administrator because I don't get involved with staff. I mean, except for when I do, but otherwise I don't. But if you're interested in a job in Leon County, here she is, front and center, Candace Wilson. Don't be calling me like that, right, Ray? All right, Candace. Thank you so much.
All right.
Candace Wilson.
Thank you.
If you want a job, I'm not going to say that the judge has written anything in chicken scratch. Principles, it's just that I can't read it. Oh, yeah. Yep. Thank you so much, Judge. We've done so. Thank you. All righty. Moving right along, we want to ask a young lady who's from the Pineview Elementary School. That's your school in your district? All right, he's getting territorial there. Come on up, Miss Proud. Miss Sky Proud. Give her a hand. Excuse me, Miss Proud.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. This is not a poem, this is a presentation for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Please be patient because my speech can be a bit long.
Mr. Jones doesn't have to speak to us at all today. Take your time.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a courageous and tireless advocate for civil rights in America. He fought for justice and equality for all people. He fought to make Black voices heard amidst racism, oppression, and violence across this country. He faced continuous personal threats, harassment, and arrest before an assassin bullet took his life, but not his legacy. Among his many accomplishments, Dr. King oversaw the Montgomery bus boycott, organized nonviolent protests in Alabama, led the March on Washington, won the Nobel Peace Prize, helped organize two Selma to Montgomery marches for black voter rights, and highlighted racial injustice everywhere he could while advocating for nonviolent protests. We all know Dr. King lost his life on April 4, 1968, after he was assassinated on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. He had gone to Memphis to lend support to black sanitation workers who were protesting low wages and miserable working conditions. They were fighting for equal rights. What some people may not know, especially young people my age, is that Dr. King spent time in Florida with our local civil rights icons, Reverend C.K. Steele and family, Reverend Daniel Speed, Miss Laura Dixie and her husband Samuel Dixie Sr., and other members of our local Inter-Civic Council. Florida was a hotbed for inequality and racial violence against black people. Our state had the highest number of lynchings per capita during the first half of the 20th century. Mobs of white men attacked, burned, and devastated black communities in Ocoee and Rosewood. Carver Village in Miami was bombed in 1951, and Harry and Harriet Moore were killed in a bombing on Christmas Day in Milnes, Florida that same year. Jim Crow laws prevailed with discriminatory housing in sundown towns where black people could work inside city limits but had to leave before nightfall. Over the years, Dr. King led and helped develop civil rights activists or foot soldiers of the movement all over the state of Florida. Marches and protests for civil rights at sit-ins at whites-only restaurants, businesses, swimming pools, and beaches increased and began receiving national attention. As we honor and salute the man whose courageous actions led to historic civil rights changes in our state, it is important for all of us to know how he effected change in Leon County and Tallahassee. It was here where Dr. King's own movement was energized by courageous actions taken by students from Florida A&M University and Florida State University. It was here where in Tallahassee where two students, Wilhelmina Jakes and Carrie Patterson, refused to give up their seats to white passengers in 1956. It was here where two students, Priscilla and Patricia Stevens, created a Tallahassee chapter of the Congress of Racial Equality, CORE, at FAMU, where they taught other students the strategies of nonviolence, such as going limp at a time and of rest. It was here where the first lunch counter protest led the Stevens sisters occurred on February 13, 1960 at the whites-only lunch counter at Woolworth's in downtown Tallahassee. It was here where the Stevens sisters and other supporters were arrested at Woolworth's on February 20, 1960. They refused to pay their fines and stayed in jail for 49 days. It was here where the jailed protesters introduced the jail not bail strategy, which drew national attention. It was here where the protest inspired a letter of encouragement from Dr. King, who sent the letter to his comrade, Reverend C.K. Steele, pastor of Bethel Missionary Baptist Church. It was here where Dr. King gave a speech at Bethel Baptist in 1964 to kick off a 3-day civil rights workshop with the giants in the field attending. It was here where I stand on this stage at 9 years of age, a descendant of slaves, to give praise in so many ways to the greatest black leader in American history, whose legacy will live on forever and always, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I am sky proud. I am an 8th generation Leon County native. I am a youth ambassador for the Florida Civil Rights Museum. Thank you for allowing me to share with you how important Tallahassee was in Dr. King's civil rights efforts for equality for black people and all people.
Come on, Darryl. Is the principal from Pineview will come forward, please? The principal from Pineview. Hold on. Okay. Come on. Come on. Come on.
That was wonderful. They're all like this. They're all fantastic. You did a wonderful.
Well, Mr. President, what you gonna do? and, and and I know y'all didn't miss this. She was standing over there by Commissioner Williams Cox and looked like that pink by that green. I mean, I saw some things. But did you all see Pastor Greg James? Did y'all see Greg James? You know, when a preacher hears that kind of cadence, it was here. You might hear that Sunday morning. That's all I'm saying. He had that thing. Yeah, he was writing notes. It was here. Yeah. And then the proud principal comes up here and say, all of my students are just like this. And then school board member Jones says, well, you know she's in my district. Golly, that's all right. It was a wonderful, wonderful moment. Indeed. Mother, and the Florida Civil Rights Museum, Ms. Jackie Perkins. We want to thank you. Now, I said that I stayed at the Holiday Inn last night, good night of rest, and I was able to recognize um, our tax collector, Ms. Doris Malloy. Ms. Malloy, would you please stand? That's what a good night of rest will do. You recognize things. This time we will be favored with an introduction coming from our at-large Leon County Commissioner, he who has the second longest tenure among county commissioners, Mr. Nick Maddox. It was here. It was here.
All right. Good afternoon. How many of us know that revenge can be so sweet sometimes? I oftentimes have to speak with Darryl Jones, and I always tell him, I say, I'm always going to go first because I hate going after you. Uh, well, today, Mr. Jones, you get to go after Miss Proud, uh, who who lit this place on fire. What y'all don't know is that Darryl Jones has spent the past month preparing for this moment to speak to you today. And so when she was up here speaking, I was thinking to myself, "Oh my God, uh, I can see him getting even more nervous." But so his bio is in your books, but I'm going to speak from my heart because this is my best friend. Uh, Darryl Jones is one that when you say that you don't have to introduce him to anybody, you truly do not introduce Darryl Jones to anybody because he knows everybody. And to know Darryl Jones is to love Darryl Jones. And for those of us who are really, really close to Darryl Jones, knows to know Darryl Jones and love Darryl Jones is also at times to be a little bit annoyed by Darryl Jones. Now, can I get an amen for those who know Darryl? There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. But what I can tell you is that he called me this morning. He was, like I said, very nervous about today. And what he told me was that he wanted to make sure that the message that he received over this past month, not from himself, but from God, was one that would speak to you all. But if it does not speak to you all, that it was one that would touch you later on because he said he prayed about this message. And that's exactly who Darryl Jones is. He's a man that's a champion for our children, which is really the least of those, but he's also a man that's a praying man, a man of faith. And so as I step down from this podium to give him an opportunity, because Commissioner Proctor said to me, "Ain't nobody come to hear me." I introduce to you all to give you the message that has come from our God to you, Mr. Darryl D. Jones.
It was here. Wow. Get you. First of all, I want to thank my best friend, Nick Maddox. uh, my birthday is March 23rd, and last year, March 23rd, my best friend said to me, he says, "You've got to do better. You've got to be fit to serve." He said, "The world needs you, and our children need you most of all. And you've got to do something about your health." And he says, "And if you're willing, I'll join you and I'll hold you accountable and we'll exercise and work out and eat better together. You ain't got to do it on your own." And here now, some 60 pounds later, an A1C that was through the roof is now down to 7. Reverend, the neuropathy I had in my feet, I was walking like old people. My feet were tender. And now I can stand tall, I can run, I can dance better, but I feel better. And so when the Bible says, "As iron sharpens iron, so do men sharpen one another," I want to thank my best friend. I also want to thank the Reverend Dr. Commissioner Proctor. I want to thank Mr. Steve Beasley and Reverend Faust. This opportunity is humbling for me, particularly when you think about how Steve Beasley and Reverend Faust, who both knew Reverend King, would ask me to speak on his holiday. And then here, a man who is the embodiment of the church and the academy and our commissioner, who is, by the way, the conscience of the Leon County Commission, for them to say, "Darryl, we want you to speak on the King holiday," that's an overwhelming responsibility. So I'm grateful. and humbled by this invitation. Now, if you start naming names, that's how you start down a slippery slope. Allow me first to acknowledge my colleagues on the Leon County School Board, the Honorable Chair of the Leon County School Board, Ms. Roseanne Wood, and my newest colleague, Ms. Lori Lawson Cox. I have to acknowledge, I think it was Dr. Robinson, I think it was Sir Isaac Newton, the great scientist, who said, if I have seen further, it is because I stand squarely on the shoulders of giants. Allow me to acknowledge my predecessors, Curtis Richardson, and the Honorable Maggie Lewis Butler, and the Honorable Georgia Joy Bowen. Would y'all please stand? Stand so we can see you. Thank you so very, very much. And not only am I a school board member, I am very, very proud to be a part of a fantastic team that truly, in its own way, embodies the ideals of King, because we realize that poverty is one of the great scourges that affects our community. And I can tell you the way we respond to poverty is how? By creating a job that creates a livable wage to improve the quality of lives of our family. And every day I join a great leader and a team in the Office of Economic Vitality with our director, Keith Bowers, one of the smartest men in our community, and all of my colleagues in OEV, if y'all would please stand. Thank you so very much for what you do in your own way to embody the dreams of Dr. Martin Luther King. And then you can't talk about me without talking about my church. I am a proud member of the Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church. Would my church family please stand? And I serve the greatest pastor in all of African Methodism, the Bishop-elect, the Reverend Dr. Julius H. McAllister Jr. I say Bishop-elect because the best is yet to come for him and his aspirations. And I am defined by my preparation, made possible at the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. I am a Humphreys era rattler. But the Bible says, as one man planteth, another man waters, but all the harvest and the glory belongs to God. So allow me to acknowledge the greatest president of the 21st century of Florida A&M University, Dr. Larry Robinson. It's your birthday. Everybody, let's join in a quick chorus. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Dr. Larry Robinson. Happy birthday to you. How old are you? We should have done the Stevie Wonder version, right? They're the Martin Luther King version. Yeah. Well, again, happy birthday, and I'm honored to salute President Robinson and his entire team, all the folks here with Dr. Robinson. Would y'all please stand? Everybody who's a part of the FAMU family. Thank you, thank you. And there is a special group here who will be acknowledged later in the program. But let me tell you, when I got elected back in 2018, I went to visit each and every one of my schools in my district, and I told them that it was not my job to be their boss or anything like that, but instead to be their greatest ombudsman, ambassador, and champion. That it was my job to take the intellectual capital found in those schools and the dreams and aspirations of those principals and teachers and do everything that I could to take those dreams and aspirations back to the larger community and to the dais of the school board. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to not just represent District 3, but I consider myself the self-proclaimed and self-anointed school board member for all Title I schools. Will all of my Title I principals please stand? Y'all give them a round of applause. Yes, give them a round of applause. These extraordinary leaders, my granddaddy said you can either be a thermostat or a thermometer. Thermostats merely measure temperature, but thermometers set it. In spite of the trauma and oftentimes the challenges that our children come to school with, coming from working class families, these principals and the teachers that they lead and the staff that joins them in serving our children, they set the temperature on high and on excellence, and they make certain that they create an environment where our children are loved first and taught second. And that's what makes these Title I principles so extraordinary. That little girl you saw, let the word go forth. The Mecca has moved south. And it's in our Title I schools. Y'all give them a round of applause. And allow me to acknowledge the greatest superintendent in the entire state of Florida, the Honorable Rocky Hanna. When he was elected in 2016 and 2018, regrettably, a great number of our schools were D's and F's. And what he did and what the rest of the school board was able to do was to be intentional about its investment and to repair what had been a certain disparity in our Title I schools by marshaling resources and appointing leaders at those schools who had a mind to work. That's Nehemiah, y'all, who had a mind to work in an extraordinary way and then would enlist the community to be a part of changing the culture found at our Title I schools. This superintendent was the one who made the intentional investment, not just in K through 12, but knew that he had to make an investment. Come on forward, Rocket, so the people can see you. He then made certain that we made an intentional investment in early learning, being able to provide a full day's early learning at our Title I schools so that our children would be prepared for kindergarten and subsequently prepared for these state tests that these mediocre people across the street impose upon us to test our children. But he saw what the playbook was, but he decided to change the play by making intentional investments in early learning and then working with private providers to make certain that the standards of instruction before they came to us was the same, that they weren't at places that were just daycares, but that they were in schools, that they were being prepared to come to the kindergarten classroom ready to learn. He then made an intentional investment to make certain that we made certain that our earliest learners, that our parents understood their responsibility as the first teachers of our children. But what I love about him most of all, and Maggie, Miss Joy Bourne will tell you, when COVID hit our community, and the science said that we were affected far differently than the larger population, that the mortal implications of COVID on black and brown people was different. The first persons to die in our district died in District 3 at the Fort Braden School. And Miss Bowen and I went to the superintendent and said, we cannot follow the guidance coming from the State House regarding masks. Our teachers have immunocompromised issues of lupus and sickle cell, and a cold will kill them, and COVID will certainly take them out. And so we've got to ensure that we create the safest environments possible. Now, in response, the people across the street, those mediocre people of mediocre intelligence, mediocre integrity, and mediocre intentions, took our salary for 3 months. But they came after him. But you know what he did? He stood on the wall to make certain that our children were safe, our teachers were safe. So I want y'all to join me in acknowledging our superintendent of Leon County Schools, the Honorable Rocky Hanna. Now be clear, I don't agree with him all the time. And look here, and we fight a lot off camera. But I go to his office, close the door. That's why you're supposed to do it, right? Everything ain't because he and I don't have to operate in the sunshine. We can meet in the moonlight. And we can have those hard conversations. But one thing about him, even though we don't always agree, I've never questioned his motives. Y'all give the Leon County School District a round of applause. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge a fantastic gentleman. Now, y'all know I'm here. Now, Keith made it clear to me this morning that I was not here as the OEV deputy director. Right. He made it very clear to me. He said that I was here as a school board member. So Reverend Proctor told me, he said, don't you worry, Darryl, you say what you want to say. I got you. Ain't nobody going to fire you. I got your back. I told Nick Maddox what Proctor said. Nick Maddox said, you follow behind Bill if you want to. You can't move in my house with me and my wife and children. Your clothes too big and our closets are too small. But I want to acknowledge our county administrator, Mr. Vince Long. When I was first elected, some of the most substantive conversations I would have with our county administrator. And every time I went with him to him with a problem or a challenge that affected our kids, he was apt to respond. For example, many of you who live in District 3 going down Orange Avenue, you know those cars race around that roundabout. And all of Brenda's children, y'all stand up and see Brenda Williams of the Tallahassee Housing Authority. Her children who leave the Tallahassee Housing Authority going to Fairview and Rickards had to walk across that street and dodge cars early in the morning while you trying to go to work. The children were trying to go to school. I went to Vince Long with that problem. Within 2 weeks, many of you have noticed we have calming devices and lights. Now we have lit sidewalks and the flashing lights to slow down traffic in the morning as our kids go to school. We are now having more lights placed at our school bus stops to ensure that our children don't have to go to school out in Fort Braden in complete darkness. And that was because of that gentleman right there who enjoys the enviable distinction of being the International County Administrator of the Year. Y'all give a round of applause for Vince Long. I want to thank my friend. Is the mayor still here? The mayor left. Let me acknowledge the mayor as well. Where's Sika Rose? Sika Rose Green is the executive director of the Children's Services Council. But it was while Mayor Daley was a member of the Leon County Commission that he would bring the concept of Children's Services Council to this community. And I want you to know on behalf of Sika Rose Green and all of the members of the Children's Services Council, Judge Miller, myself, Superintendent Hanna, and others, Commissioner Cummings, our chair, the best is yet to come for our children. Y'all give them a round of applause. Now, there is a word. Isn't that what they're saying? I want to acknowledge An extraordinary acknowledgement, an extraordinary lady who's here with us, uh, Miss Pat Weaver. Stand up, Pat Weaver. Many of you don't know this, but it was 50 years ago.
How many?
It was 50 plus years ago that Miss Pat Weaver, in response to Title IX, would bring interscholastic sports for women to our Leon County School District. You may applaud. And here now, 50 years later, at all of our schools, our young girls, this is important that we talk about this during the King holiday, that our young girls now operate and compete equally to boys in interscholastic sports in Leon County because of her. And because of her example, now we have people like Angela Adams Suggs. Where's Angela Adams Suggs? Is now the president of the Florida Sports Foundation. And at FAMU, we have a lady who is the vice president for athletics because of a woman like Pat Weaver. Stand up, Dr. Sykes. Where's Angela Adams Suggs? But, so I want you to know how much we appreciate you as we celebrate King. We celebrate the role that when he talks about equity and equality, it's not just race, but it's also gender. And thank you for the example you provide. Amen. Now, and I got my other best friend, Darryl Parks. I got to say Darryl Parks now. When we were in school, he was Big Darryl. Then when we got grown, he was Big Darryl, and I was Big Darryl. And now we've gone back to being Big Darryl and Little Darryl. In case you missed it. But let me tell you, when I came to college 35 years ago, Colonel Bernard Delano Hendricks made us friends. Our shared struggles made us best friends. And over the years, his constant example and support of me has made him family. And 35 years ago, I wanted to be like Darryl Parks. And 35 years later, I still want to be like Darryl Parks. Y'all give him a round of applause. Now, is it on? Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. Can you hear me now? So let's talk about the King holiday, like Christmas. And let me acknowledge my brothers of the 100 Black Men of Tallahassee. Y'all give them a round of applause. For nearly 3 decades, these gentlemen have been involved in our schools on a weekly basis, modeling manhood for our young people. Y'all give them a round of applause. We know as a culture that it takes a village. And I want to thank these elders and brothers and fathers and uncles and grandfathers for the important role that they play. Every week they're at Zelina O'Banner School, Zelina Thomas O'Banner School, Griffith Middle School, tutoring our young people, mentoring them in extraordinary ways. Chances are, every week they are at Griffin Middle School modeling manhood for our children. So y'all give them another round of applause. Now like like Christmas, people try to take or dilute the holiday. It's no longer Merry Christmas, Christ, it's Merry Xmas. Or worse yet, Happy Holidays or Season's Greetings. And y'all do the same thing with the King holiday. Oh, it's MLK Day. It's Martin Luther King Day. No, we've got to talk about him in the fullness of his name. He is the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Because to not say his full name and title is to somehow diminish his calling and his credentials. His calling and credentials are emblematic of what we know to be the connection between the two anchor institutions found in our community, and that's the church and the schoolhouse. It's not just that he was called, but he was prepared. He reminds us of the connection between the ecclesial and the academic. That's why King was so important. So when King would go to Alabama, although there had been civil rights activists for decades before him, when this extraordinary man of an extraordinary calling, Reverend, and an extraordinary preparation came to the community, they would then make them their leader so that he would be able to go forth and bring forth a message that the people, regardless of all walks of life, could understand and appreciate. It was his prophetic voice and his preparation that prepared him. And we know this to be true in our community. How many of you remember a great man, Moses General Miles? I remember Moses General Miles not only as a pastor, but he too represented the academy, dean of students, founder of the FAMU Foundation. And I remember him famously articulating, I cannot teach what I do not know. Y'all remember? I cannot lead where I do not go. Therefore, I'll study the word. This man, this extraordinary man, is emblematic of what we also see in the conscience of the Leon County Commission, where the academy and the prophetic come together. The reason he's able to speak truth to power, because not only is he prepared, but there's something special on the inside. What does the Bible say? You don't hear a lot of Bible because he's a Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Greater is he that is in him than anything we find in the world. King was special because he understood that, because he had seen that time and time again in the community where he lived. In Atlanta, where you have historically black colleges. But he had also seen, much like what we see here in our own community. Do you realize, you might not have known this, Rocky, but the very first superintendent of public schools in Leon County was a black man named Charles Pierce. And what we did, think about this culturally speaking. When we came out of slavery, the first thing we did was what? We organized churches and we organized schools. Those folks were made of sterner stuff. They realized that they had an obligation following emancipation of formerly enslaved people, that they knew they had to educate them. But they also knew that they had to find out more and learn more about the God they had heard about in stories as a liberator and an emancipator. They might not have known Abraham Lincoln, but they knew God. And that is why they came together under their own vine and fig tree. And then they went and had a mind to work, like Nehemiah said, and then would start their own schools. They didn't wait for they didn't wait for the powers that be. They didn't wait for the powers that be to create schools for themselves. The Primitive Baptist Church, the AME Church, all of these churches were started in the 1860s and subsequently started schools. The oldest HBCU in the state of Florida is Edward Waters University, started by the AME Church. Then you have the Baptists who would start Florida Memorial. And then through the Freedmen's Bureau and the land grant system, we then create FAMU in 1887. And you know why? Because here, following Reconstruction, for as diabolical as slavery was, the larger society knew that they had a responsibility to educate these recently emancipated people, or otherwise we'd create a permanent underclass. And so even slave plantation owners would put schools on their former plantations to educate the slaves and to equip them with skills. Why was this important? Because they knew that they had to help those people to be able to live their larger life. King says that the response, and this is going to be about what King says, not what Darryl says. King says that the responsibility of education is to not only instruct, but to also create great moral character. That's why the churches were vitally important, because it was the churches that would help to create that curriculum. I'm old enough to remember when you went to church on Sunday morning, the same guy who might have been the janitor at your school was Deacon Jones on Sunday morning. And so there was a seamless energy. The man who was a principal might have been your superintendent of your Sunday school. And the cafeteria lady might have been Mother Witherspoon, right, on Sunday morning. And so there was a connection for you from the schoolhouse to the church house and in the larger community that was concerned about your education. And they did not take excuses about what other people didn't do. They saw the responsibility as being theirs because they realized that they were equipping them not just through instruction, but through good moral character. You don't believe me? Think of this. Teachers were the standard in our community. Teachers, at one time, Rocky, represented the middle class back when we valued education and providing appropriate compensation for those who taught us. Now, this problem has harangued the state of Florida now for decades. But when we started our schools back in 1869, the Freedman School, the original Lincoln High School, how many original Lincoln High School graduates do we have here? Y'all stand up. All our original Lincoln High School folks. The great generation, y'all. Now, the reason I know this is because I got this book. This book is Power from Within, a history of African American education in Leon County, Florida, written by Miss Altamise Barnes and the good folks at the Riley House. Is Miss Barnes here today? I'm happy to let you all know that School Board Chairwoman Roseanne Wood, our superintendent, and I are purchasing 51 of these books to ensure that every one of our schools has this book so that our children might know the history of the African American presence in our Leon County schools. Huh? No, it hasn't been banned, but we're going to make sure they're there. Oh, okay. And we're going to pay for it, aren't we, Roseanne? And Lori, if you want in, we'll take your money too. And this book is made all the more special because it's dedicated to my aunt and uncle, Freeman and Thelma Lawrence, who, when I was a freshman at FAMU, they would take me under their wing at the Bethel AME Church, and they were a very important part of my academic, social, and spiritual maturation. So let's hear it for Altamise Barnes. Let her know that we're buying 51 copies of this book to place in all of our schools. So they understood the church, the connection between the church house and the schoolhouse. And let me tell you why this is so important for us now. Do you realize that the very first commissioner of education was a black man, Robert Meacham? Charles Pierce was our first superintendent. Those of us from Bethel know those names because those were the same men who would also organize the Florida Annual Conference that would create the Bethel AME Church in 1865. This book reminds us of the important role that the primitive Baptist church has played in creating schools. Those schools were important to our community because they existed in the neighborhood where the children lived. And so subsequently, there was that sense of community across our community for those schools. King famously said the goal of education is to teach us to think critically and to include intelligence and character. I can remember my own grandmother. I was my mom when she had me, when she had to go back to school. My great great grandmother was the one who raised me. So that means I remember when Victor Newman met Nikki on the Young and the Restless, because I used to sit with grandma and watch the stories, right? I, and I remember going to school, and my grandmother had a saying for everything. So when my friends would get sick in school, Reverend, and get the chicken pox, I tell them, don't worry, it ain't always the leaning tree that falls. Because that's what my grandmother said. I'd be on the playground, I'd tell another kid, don't you worry about the mule being blind, you just slowed the wagon. I would tell a kid, it's a poor frog, don't praise its own pond, right? I tell him a dog need its butt more than just to sit on, right? And a horse need its tail more than one fly season. Because those were the stories that I heard. That was a part of my education. And her favorite one, I'm too old a coon to be run up a tree by a puppy. Oh, you can't take a mule to the water, but you can't make him drink. My grandmother, but let me tell you what was also important about my great great grandmother. My great great grandmother in her 80s was present at every school meeting I had. And my mom did the same. When we talk about education and character, my mother saw herself as a partner with the teacher. When King talks about that, there is parental responsibility that must be discussed as we talk about the role that these principles play. Yes, it is in loco parentis, in place of the parent, but it is in cooperation with the parent. If the teacher, my mom, when we go to school, my mom had the same speech every year, and I'd stand there and hold her hand. If you have any problems out of Darryl, because she knew me, you have any problems out of Darryl, feel free to call me or bust him in his mouth. And I'd look at the teacher, I wish you would hit me. But my mom believed that if the teacher, it wasn't her job to come to the school, cuss the teacher out about the teacher not wanting you to have your cell phone in the class. You tell that teacher I paid for the phone. No. My mom and my grandmother saw themselves as partners in education. And that and in esteeming leadership, as King describes, we were creating a culture of people who understood to respect the authority of the classroom and to respect the authority of the teacher. He also says, famously, that in education must enable one to sift and weigh evidence, to discern the truth from falsehood, the real from the unreal, and facts from fiction. History and culture are indeed important, and education is a great equalizer and the great emancipator. I want to acknowledge my colleagues again, Maggie Lewis Butler and Joy Bowen. Because of them, Leon County Schools enjoys the extraordinary distinction of being an exemplar district in the integration of African American history in our curriculum. That was something they made possible. And let me be very clear that this lesson also go forth. I think there's nothing wrong with people acknowledging their predecessors. We didn't get to where we are by ourselves. There were sacrifices that were made by people whose names we may or may not know, but we should, every chance we get, acknowledge them. You may applaud. And because of their example, we would then take it a step further. When Leon County, when Nick Maddox and Carolyn Cummings and Bill Proctor would designate May 20th as a holiday and give all the Leon County employees a day off in our schools, because you know we We have so many days. What we decided to do was to ensure that on May 20th, all classrooms, all teachers are teaching from a curriculum designed by Ms. Altamise Barnes on May 20th that teaches our children about Reconstruction. We don't care what they say. Those mediocre people of mediocre minds and mediocre intelligence and mediocre integrity, we're going to teach African American history in our Leon County schools. What did he say? I cannot teach what I do not know. I cannot lead. There's sun right there where I do not go. Therefore, I'll study the word. Finally, King would also, this is a part for you, Keith, one of the things that he said about education in response to what were riots and a discontent, he says it is important that we save education. It's not about burn, baby, burn. It's about learn, baby, learn, so that you can earn, baby, earn. That's the role of education. Rocky will tell you, Roseanne, Miss Cox will tell you, Miss Woods, Miss Bowen, Miss Butler, when we stand on that stage and we welcome our graduates across the stage and we shake their hands and we ask them, what's next? Regrettably, far too many of our children shrug their shoulders. They don't know what's next. They don't know what options they have. Some say FAMU, some say FSU, some say Harvard, some say Yale. But far too many of our children have not made choices. And so what we have done, and we take this on as a school board and as a superintendent, as principals, we realize that it is our job to educate parents on all options. We remember that when we had our former schools, even in one-room schoolhouses, there were industrial arts and home economics, and people and our young people were learning trades in those same classrooms. Well, it is important that we equip our young people. Every kid may not want to go to college, but every kid deserves a living or earn a job, be prepared for a career that gives them a livable wage. If we fail to do that, we have done them a great disservice. If we have them for 12 years and they walk across that stage not knowing what's next, that indictment is on us. So we, as a school board and a school district, are doing more and being more intentional about making certain that our children know about every option available to them. And that one of the first things we did was change what used to be Lively Technical Institute to Lively Technical College, such that everybody would know that you can still go to college and still be prepared to go into the workforce. And I want to thank my colleagues and I want to thank our business partners. Where's Sue Dick? Stand up, Sue Dick. Stand up, Antonio Jefferson. Yes, sir. Almost done. And Katrina Tuggerson. But I want to thank Sue Dick, Antonio Jefferson, and Katrina Tuggerson for the role that they have played in helping to equip our business to be partners with our schools. The Big Bend Minority Chamber every year hosts a golf tournament to help our Title I schools to provide additional resources for them. And then I want to acknowledge Sue Dick and the Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce for the important role that they have played in having businesses to adopt every kindergarten classroom in our Leon County School District. Y'all give them a round of applause. All of this in an effort to provide what we know is a great equalizer born of education. As I take my seat, I want to remind you, we all know about I Have a Dream by King. But let's also think of the great epistolatory opus called The Letter to the Birmingham Jail, where King reminds clergy persons of their responsibility to stand in the gap against unjust laws. My colleagues remind me, well, the governor has done that, and that's the law, and we have to abide. No, we don't. Because I remember in the Bible, Shadrach, Meshach, and a bad Negro told King Nebuchadnezzar they would not go along with his law and kneel. They were the first ones to show civil disobedience. What I need for each and every one of you in this room, this is your assignment. I ask you the question, how long? Isn't that what Elijah said on Mount Carmel? How long will you stand halted between two opinions? I need you to decide today when we leave this King holiday the important role that you will play in saving our children. It is important that we not stand idly by as they pass laws that try to undermine our children, create weaponized bigotry. When the Moms for Liberty come to the school board meeting, I want to see the Deltas and the AKAs come and talk to our school board meeting. When they start schools that teach conservative ideology, I want to see the Alphas and the Omegas start academies and teach our children. I want you to decide today that you're going to make choices to be involved in the future of our young people. We need to find the same heart and grit that these people had. They did not wait on anyone to save their children. They took the responsibility as a community unto themselves to save our children. And that is our call today. Will you come? Will you help us? Can I open up the doors? Will you come? Will you come to our schools and volunteer? Will you come and model manhood for my children? Will you come and be that ram in the bush? Will you tell our children that they are loved and that they are valued? Will you come and share in the vision that Doug Cook has for Rickers and Todd Lantner has for Fort Braden? Will you come and share in our schools and stand tall and let our children know that we love them? Thank you so very much. To God be the glory. Amen. Thank you for these wonderful educators. Y'all give them a round of applause. They are our true and greatest heroes.
Amen. All right. Let the church say amen. We want to, Reverend McAllister, do y'all have a robe that will fit this preacher? He is ready. He is ready. This is absolutely his first sermon. And I have to say that if there's a motion, thank you. And we're going to send him to our quarterly conference. Initial stages of itinerancy. Preacher. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give Brother Jones another warm applause. We want to move quickly now because far be it from me to stand between you and a good plate of groceries. We want to ask if Athletic Director Tiffany Sykes and Athletic Director Michael Alford would please come at this time. Want to ask if Katrina Tuggerson will come, Mr. Jefferson, Ms. Sudik, if you would please come from Chambers. Okay, all right. Got theirs. Okay. Where's Sue?
I'm waiting on my chamber sister, Sue. Is she still here?
Sue in the house? She may have left.
She's okay. Sue, you over here,
Come
Sue.
on, Sue.
Everybody quoting their scriptures when 2 and 3 gathered together.
Yeah, okay, all right.
That's the chambers. That's our new thing for 2024. When 2 and 3 gather together, we make a difference in the community, and that's what we're here to say today. One of the things that Capital City Chamber does yearly is acknowledge during October, during homecoming, and Dr. Larry Robinson attends every time. He cracked on me a little bit this year, but we're going to correct that for 2024. But nevertheless, we recognize the dollar value that our football and athletic teams bring into the community, and we bring that before the community to the forefront, what it does for the small businesses here within the community. But I'm going to pause right there and just allow just a couple of seconds for my colleagues to say something as well, my chamber sister and my chamber brother. Go ahead.
Thank you, Katrina. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to be here on so many fronts, recognizing this special day and to present this award. Thank you to both our institutions for what you bring to our community, our winning records, our championship designation, and continued success to you. And I speak on behalf of, again, close friends with Antonio and Katrina. The business community appreciates it and are here to support you in every way. Thank you. Thank you, Katrina.
What a great day it is. And Madam and Mr. ADs, thank you for what your universities do for our community and not only helping prepare our future generations for the workforce that they will lead and innovate in, but what we do in our athletic programs at both universities. Our community is great, and there is no other community in the nation that does sports the way Florida A&M and Florida State University does. And this is just a token of our appreciation for the programs and the success that we had this year. Both of you are national champions in this community, and that is the title that you have today. So,
And with that being said, the national champions, I mean, y'all brought some money. I don't know what Carrie went. She got all them dollars she totaling up. The teams and your leadership brought dollars into the community. Mr. Alford, the athletic director at FSU. Miss Tiffany, where you running off to? What an outstanding first year for you to come into Tallahassee, our community, and get this award, the athletic director, and help support and take FAMU all the way to the national championship, which, you know, hats off to you, Miss Tiffany Sykes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank our three chambers. Their names are all attached to that plaque. Their appreciation and recognition for the outstanding economic impact that education in the form of student athletes and what they do to lift the rising tide here in the community. I want to ask Mr. Alford and Ms. Sykes would please come back to the dais. I received this text message this morning. Good morning, Bill. Please stump for me and congratulate everyone. Can't shake this flu. Was hoping I felt better this morning. Thanks for thinking of me, Jim. Jim Henry is the sports editor of the Tallahassee Democrat. It has been his idea that our community gives strong affection to the success accumulated by both our football programs, but as importantly, all sports programs and the ways in which you affect our economy. So Jim Henry was going to present this award, but texted me and unfortunately is not going to be here. For the Community Championship Award, the Martin Luther King Foundation of Florida, Inc., celebrating 38 years of service, presented to Michael Alford, Florida State University Athletic Director, 2024 MLK Day. Mr. Alford, God bless you. We thank you for what you do. Tiffany, I thought yours was going to be in pink, but unfortunately, I'm just saying, but uh, notwithstanding, the success that Mr. Henry wrote about over and over, I think both our teams compiled a 25-2 record, historic success in football. But can you all tell us some of the other championships um, following this presentation, the cumulative impact of sports and what you do with the plus 60,000 students, 70,000 students who comprise our population? Community Championship Award presented to Tiffani-Dawn Sykes, Florida A&M University Athletic Director, 2024 MLK Day celebration, and we present this award to Florida A&M Athletic Director. God bless you. Very good. All right, Mr. Beasley has canceled the talking and said, let's get on with the walking. We're going to follow the boss's orders. Moving right along, we want to ask now if the 100 Black Men, Dr. Ray Mobley and the ICE Foundation, attorney G.C. Murray would come forward. Okay. Dr. Cooper, be you. Good. This theme this morning is all focused on education. We've got education in terms of our student athletes, their success. That's education. The 100 Black Men, what they do to undergird education, to lift up our boys and girls that they might be ready. Uh, is recognition by our committee this year what each of you do. Dr. Mobley, the 100 Black Men, I want to just say to you on behalf of the MLK committee that the MLK 2024 Excellence in Community Service Award to the Tallahassee Chapter 100 Black Men, Dr. Ray Mobley, 2024 MLK Day salute and award to you. God bless you. We thank you. Dr. Cooper is accepting on behalf of Mr. Attorney G.C. Murray and Dr. Cooper, the great work that the ICE Foundation does, the support of back to school, Thanksgiving giveaways, the Christmas share, and other noteworthy events which undergird the development of our children and their success in education